Hard to do in just 2 minutes.
All right. Think I might be on here. All right. Hello, James. Hello, Sasha. Hello, Chris. How are you guys doing? All right. So I am going to be. I know I'm missing a couple people because of time. I actually had a student that dropped the course because of some scheduling conflicts, so I won't have a whole lot of people on here. So I will not bore you guys to death. Basically, we're gonna highlight infectious diseases. And it's interesting because right now we are in the middle of history. And you have to forgive me if I'm looking because I'm actually on a dual screen. I'm home today. Yeah, so I might be looking in the other direction. But we're living in a time now where we are basically rewriting history. Isn't that crazy that we are living through history? I think it's crazy. Oh, hey, Kaylee. I thought you may not be able to make it, but it's crazy how now, with this list of infectious diseases, now we can add corona, or COVID-19. So, like I said, I won't go too deep into this because I want you to just, think about yourself. This is kind of a mindfulness live today because I want you to think about yourself. How does the pandemic make you feel just individually? Of course, the last pandemic that were to impact us was a little over 100 years ago, this during the Spanish flu. So the discussion post today will just talk about, the discussion post that's in this particular week, which we're on week 5, just talks about, how does infectious diseases impact your family. And I'll give you an example first. It impacts my family actually in a couple of ways on both sides of my family. I actually lost an aunt who was living in New York City. And they were saying that New York City was the epicenter or the hotbed of COVID-19, especially retirement communities. My aunt was older, and she went into a retirement community. And of course, when the pandemic hit, she was one of the first who passed away from COVID-19. So it impacted my family on my dad's side. It impacted my family on my mom's side because I also have a cousin who tested positive for COVID-19. So, so for right now, my goal is to keep as many family members as protected as possible. I don't know about you guys, but my parents who are in their they're almost in their late 50s, but they won't stay inside whatsoever. Like my stepdad went to party in Miami. So, and my mom, she traveled across the United States during the pandemic. So, I have some hard-headed family members for sure, but for the most part, if you have my sports injury class or my teach body conditioning class, I transition our classes online because now some of our students are testing positive for COVID-19, and I think it's important, not just for me, but for you guys to protect yourself. So yeah, that's pretty much, my spill on my outlook as far as COVID-19 is concerned. And I'm like the rest of you guys, I miss parties. I miss traveling. I miss going to, some of y'all can only go to the bar if you're over 21. If you're over 21, then this applies. If you're not, this doesn't apply. I miss going to the bar every now and again, have happy hour with friends. Most importantly, I just miss being able to be social. So, but to protect all of my family members, that's just the sacrifice we make. So, I don't personally. I think it'll be something that I basically think normal won't be back to normal until 2022. But that's just me. I could be wrong. So we never know what 2021 may bring. But I think it'll be a while before we return to normal. And thinking about that, in Kentucky as well, and correct me if I'm wrong if you guys have actual data, I believe in late 2018, early 2019, or was it early 2018, late 2017, there was also a hepatitis A outbreak. I don't know how long you guys been in Kentucky, but Fayette Mall, parts of the food court was closed. Because there were a couple of hepatitis A cases. And if you're not familiar with hepatitis A, in a nutshell, it's basically kind of how's the word I want to put it very loosely. It's just a matter of making sure that you're kind of clean once you go into areas such as the bathroom. It's more so a cleanliness issue. But there are some serious side effects to it. And of course, there's nausea, vomiting, diarrhea in relation to hepatitis A. But there was an outbreak with that. In late 2017, there was a flu outbreak. And we now know that kind of the flu outbreaks happen kind of frequently. So just be mindful. Now, I want you guys to interact with me in the chat. And you can be honest, this is a safe location. Sorry, there's a gnat in here. This is a safe location, and if somebody hops on YouTube and tries to debate you, I got you. I'll take care of you. With this being a safe place in the chat, how many of you guys are considering the flu shot this season? And you can put in the chat, say, I don't know, I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure, or you're like, no, I don't want the flu shot this year. So, and as you can see in your PowerPoint, this is just a list. This is probably a very general list of all the infectious diseases that have seen a lot of deaths in the past. Definitely one we see every year is influenza or flu, measles, yellow fever, smallpox, typhoid. Okay, we got one yes. Yeah, I got one no. Usually works for me. And I think it depends on, I will say this, and a lot of people don't realize it in terms of the flu vaccine, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong. Last time I checked, in terms of the flu vaccine, some people do develop, or some people have an allergy to the flu vaccine, but of course that allergy is tied to eggs. Okay, if anybody has an egg allergy, they need to notify their medical professional that I do have an egg allergy, and so they can cater the vaccine to that. Recently I was talking to a nurse practitioner I used to work with, and she was telling me that there's a difference between a live vaccine and a dead vaccine. Okay, live vaccine apparently is the real deal, and the dead vaccine is, of course, not the case. You're going to be sore in your muscle for sure, but that nurse practitioner told me there is a difference. So I encourage you, even for those that are saying no, and even for those that are saying yes, I really encourage you to really do your research. And that's not only just for flu vaccines, that's for every vaccine, okay, including the COVID-19 vaccine. I just heard on a radio commercial on the radio that said that apparently they're recruiting volunteers. So we'll see. I think they said that people are saying that they're idiots for being lab rats. So like I said, we'll see. To each his own. So I encourage you to, if you want to now, you can. Definitely, do your research. I did see a Facebook post that talked about, okay, well, would you take anything that had this list of ingredients? And somebody said no, and they said, well, do you know those are the ingredients to an apple? And so, yeah, those are just things to be mindful of. But as we enter the flu season starts next month, so just things to think about. So immunization really came about in the 1960s, as well as antibiotics. And this is a holistic tip. Anytime you go on an antibiotic, maybe consider a probiotic, whether it be a tea or a tablet. And then on top of that, it's important for you to know your allergies. Like I have an allergy to penicillin. I just break out in hives. I look like a chocolate cherry. And that's a result of me having strep throat, trying to take the suspended version for strep throat. And I had to go to something else really quickly because the hives were all over the place. But I think we're still advancing in terms of the knowledge base of what are some of the things that are causing these allergies, and, you know, what are the alternatives. So my alternative to penicillin is a Z-Pak or azithromycin, okay? But this is right around the turn of age when antibiotics came about. You know, and of course, during this time, they talked about water purification. And also another tip, just to be mindful. How many of us love tap water? You can put in the chat. I'll tell you the truth. I don't like tap water, but apparently the water is clean. It has been treated enough where it can be drinkable, but I don't have a preference for tap water. Just so you know, there really is no, well, before I say that, because this will go live, but drinking bottled water is a measure of preference, okay? Tap water is generally clean. And during the 1960s, that's when they saw technology change to accommodate the prevention of infectious diseases, including pasteurization of milk, and of course, you know, improved techniques of personal hygiene. I got James, he said, it's good in Georgia. Yeah, it depends. It really depends. Like, you know, I actually, with me growing up in North Carolina, water was okay. But when I moved to Washington, D.C., and they were saying that there's fish being found in some of the local rivers that have 4 eyes, no thanks. So I just stopped drinking D.C. tap water, and I just kind of stuck with it. So, but in terms of improved personal hygiene, okay, you've seen all these videos about hand washing. So what I encourage you to do is that in your discussion posts, I want you to find a YouTube video that has the best version of hand washing that you think is highly effective. Because that's the thing. Don't be surprised. There's a lot of people who grew up or were in a school system and who did not wash their hands. So they just kind of did their business and went out the door, or they may have handled raw meats and went out the door, or just interacted with people. So the 1960s saw a real improvement of personal hygiene. Now, we, you know the difference between bacteria and viruses and parasites, okay? Those are the things that can really paralyze you in terms of getting you seriously ill. The best method, like I said, came from an old school family. The best thing that we do is that we just take a whole bunch of supplements and eat properly to kind of prevent these parasites and these viruses and the bacteria. In most cases, a lot of these viruses, to prevent those, are usually in terms of being vaccinated. And again, we have all these vaccination disagreements and these arguments. Again, I encourage you to do your research because, there's some people that think vaccination is fine completely. There's parents that will vaccinate their children a little later in life until they're a little bit older, or there's parents that won't vaccinate their children at all. So, again, I highly encourage you guys to do your research, okay? Just let me know. I actually had a sibling that was impacted by being vaccinated. He actually had a really bad side effect, so that was pretty scary. So I could be on the fence about vaccinations, but only I don't want anybody to get hurt. So that's kind of my ordeal with being vaccinated. Okay. Now, as you can see, we got some viruses. Let me just go right to the striking point. Sexual contact causing viruses, and that's the reason why a number of programs do STD, STI. Some of the terms have changed a little bit. Prevention programs, just to stop the spread of viruses. Now, in the chat, I want you guys to give me a guess. Give me a guess in the chat. What do you think is the most commonly transmitted STD, STI among college students? And that's between the ages of 18, actually it's 15, up until maybe about 25. You guys let me know what your guess is. Like I said, I know there's going to be a delay. So let me know what your guess is. What is the most common STI, STD among college students? And that's just not Kentucky. That's all 50 states. Chlamydia. I got one. Chlamydia. Exactly what it's called, the clap. Any other guesses? Clap. Any other guesses? Well, you're wondering? That's actually correct. Okay, chlamydia, or as we call it, clap, is the most commonly spread STI. And the reason why we call it a sexually transmitted infection is because those are things that can be treated, and there's a cure for it. So with chlamydia, those symptoms, you're generally almost always going to have symptoms of chlamydia. Gonorrhea actually falls a close second to chlamydia. But gonorrhea, and be mindful, gonorrhea carries no symptoms often. So you want to be very careful, especially in men. In men, it doesn't really carry a lot of symptoms. So just be mindful. Actually, men don't really carry a lot of STI, STD symptoms, but women will. So, but again, being mindful. I actually at another institution that I worked at, there was a point where there was one student that came across maybe about 3 other students, and so yeah, those are just things that you have to be mindful of. And that same student actually caught it twice within a 2-month period. So yeah, you just gotta be careful. That's my motherly public service announcement for that. Okay, don't do that. Be safe. Be smart. That student just was whatever, I don't care, I'm just going to get it in, it's whatever, I've had it many times before. So please don't carry that attitude. But you have carriers, vectors, those are roughly the same thing. And talking about COVID-19, they're encouraging people to get tested for COVID-19 because sometimes we can carry it and we can be asymptomatic and we don't know it, okay? So that's the reason why they're encouraging college students, for the most part, to not congregate, because college students can be carriers, okay? Because what we're doing, we're partying. I was 20 in 2004, so I know what it's like to hang out with large groups of people. But the CDC and the health department is really telling people to not do that, because there is a case of carriers, okay? Contaminated food and water, of course, that's another common one. You're handling chicken and then you go and kiss a baby, or you went to the bathroom and you didn't wash your hands. So that's the reason why the whole hand washing concept is in place with 20 seconds. I give them 40 seconds. I make sure everything is clean. Now, if you are one who has acrylic nails like me, by all means, make sure you bust out the scrub brush, okay? Just get underneath the fingernails and get between the fingers and boom, you're out the door. Okay, of course you have a transmission pattern. I will say this. We think that with my cousin, my cousin went to a location, and it was so crazy because she didn't go anywhere the whole pandemic. But the one place she did go to, she picked it up. And, it's going to attach to a susceptible host. And we talked about with COVID-19, really impacting the African-American community, those who suffer from hypertension, diabetes, who have a compromised immune system. And I additionally think, if my knowledge base serves me correctly, it's also impacting men more. So, no particular reason, because all the information about COVID-19 is still developing. So, so the purpose of public health is to find ways to control what's going on. Okay, so it's not, it's not more so oh yeah, we're just going to tell you what to do. We oftentimes with stuff like this, there's enough evidence base that says, hey, these are the ways to reduce the symptoms, or these are the ways to keep yourself from getting sick. You should follow these. You should follow these regulations. So, ideally, I want you guys to, it's not an assignment, so you don't have to. Now, if you do, you can always send me a remind that notification and let me know what you found. I'm interested. But maybe go to the health department or where you're from. So I would do, because I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina, I would do either the state health department or I would do Wake County's health department and see what kind of their infographics are, their information is about COVID-19 and reducing the spread. It should be pretty uniform, but some districts have a very creative way of putting that information out there. So I'm eager to see that, and you can just always message me. You might be doing it now. You can always message me through the Remind app. Like I said, I'm sitting right here. So, but that's really the goal of public health. It's not to kind of tell you what to do. It is kind of tell you what to do, but at least there's information in the means on how to stop the spread. Same thing, you might have a public health professional talking about sexually transmitted disease. Same thing. It's just information that's going to help you out to reduce the spread of STDs, STIs. So same thing with public health professional who might be talking about water treatment. Okay, it's put out there for you to inform yourself as far as making the best decision for your health. Interrupting the chain of infection. Okay. What's that number one on there in the top? Make sure you guys are paying attention. You see this PowerPoint right here? What am I looking at? Oh man, that's the main one. And if you type it in the chat, I know that you are watching this video. Type it in the chat. What is one thing that prevents transmission? In addition to that, once you tell me what you see, what is that one thing that prevents hand washing? Tell me what age, and you can be honest, tell me what age did you learn about effective hand washing? There we go, Sasha. What age were you when you learned about effectively washing your hands? There we go. I will tell you, my grandmother is a retired chemist. I would say I was probably about 6 or 7. All right, Chris, I see you. Yeah, I was about 6 or 7 when I learned about effective hand washing and learning about how not pleasant it is to walk around with dirty hands. So what age were you learning about effective hand washing? I have no idea. But now the important part is we're effectively washing our hands now, right? We've gotten there's so many videos on hand washing in so many elementary school, about 4 or 5 years old. Yeah. Now, I don't know, I'm elementary. Now, I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm dating myself. I was 5 years old in 89, right? And I was in a private school, religious school. And I think it was Christian, Catholic, I don't remember. No, it was Catholic. And I remember one time that I had sneezed in my hands, achoo! And I just kind of went about my day, touching everything on the desk. And my teacher came over there with a ruler and tapped my hands and told me to wash my hands. When you hear stories about teachers that used to pop students, I was part of that generation where they were popping students still. They probably stopped it in like the early 90s, but in the late 80s, I was in that generation where they were still popping students. So, but of course, we talk about quarantine. None of us like it, okay? How many of us like being quarantined? You can tell me in the chat. I'll be honest with you. I hate being quarantined. I miss my friends. I want to see my family. I miss my Miami vacation in the summer. I hate it. However, if it's going to help us get back to normal, if it's going to secure to make sure that no other deaths occur, especially in my family, because I have one, that's critical to me. So I'll do whatever it takes. But let me tell you, how many of us really? I struggled. Like, let me see. When we went home, what was that? Right after spring break. We went home right after spring break up until maybe about May. I struggled. Oh my gosh. It was like, good grief. Am I supposed to sit in this house this long? So, yeah, I don't know about you guys. I struggled. I didn't know. Well, I was in the middle of writing, but still, it was interesting for me. So, but quarantine is the best method to reduce the spread. Okay, and of course, you always want to kill the pathogen with antibiotics. So if there is somebody who is sick, of course, they do have to quarantine, especially if they're severely sick. If they're severely sick, they have to quarantine. Of course, antibiotics come into play. Because there is not a lot of information or a real cure or vaccine for COVID-19, those who have mild symptoms, they just really tell them kind of home remedy yourself until you start to feel better. So, and epidemiologic surveillance. There's another word for surveillance. What are we doing now to track people down who might be positive for COVID-19? What are we doing? Starts with a C. It's 2 words. Starts with a C. I forgot my computer's over here. 2 words. Take a guess. Take a guess. With surveillance, when we're tracking down people who are testing positive for COVID-19. 2 words. Just take a random guess. It should be on your PowerPoint. Yes? 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 Contact tracing. Contact tracing. Okay? So there's more debates. That's why I said public health is extremely... There we go. Contact tracing. That's the reason why public health is so controversial, because there's so many topics that are out there that have people questioning what's going on. Now, the purpose of contact tracing, okay? Contact tracing is not designed to tell you what to do. It's not designed to take away your medical rights. All it is are some recommendations on what you should do in the event of you testing positive for COVID-19. Okay? Additionally, sometimes certain locations will encourage the positive candidate to tell them, hey, I've been here. For example, students who may have come in contact with somebody who tested positive for COVID-19, they might tell the next person, hey, I'm going to stay home. I came in close contact with somebody with COVID-19 or who may be COVID-19 positive. That's kind of the form of some contact tracing. You're just kind of letting everybody know that, hey, this is what happened. It's the same thing with STI spread, okay? Don't nobody want to say, or you don't want to walk up to your partner and say, hey, I may have given you the clap. That's the most uncomfortable conversation that you ever want to have, but just in general. Because the first thing people want to do when you tell them, oh yeah, I may have exposed you to something, you don't want to seem like you're dirty. So a lot of people just don't want to talk about it. They don't want to mention, oh man, I think I gave you something. So that's really the purpose of contact tracing, okay? All it is just a means to tell people, hey, you may have been exposed to this. I'm just warning you, you might want to get tested for it, or you might want to kind of stop by the doctor to discuss what your options are. That's all it is. It's not taking, by all means, it's not taking away anybody's medical rights. Nobody likes it because you're tracking people down, and nobody really wants that. Okay, we have SARS and we have rabies. I will tell you this, because of this, I'm absolutely positively terrified of wildlife. Anybody hunt in this chat? Any hunters in here? One day I'm going to go out with a hunter and watch, because I'll be honest with you, animals scare me. If it's outside of a dog, I don't know. So I don't know about that. But that's the means of kind of tracking down as far as rabies are concerned. You're going to monitor the wildlife and the wildlife around you. In Northern Virginia, apparently there was a small issue of rabies. I think it was in raccoons and like dogs who were let free. They were told that you cannot let your dog free, just kind of keep them in the house or in the porch. But yeah, and I applaud every hunter. Any hunters in here, let me know in the chat. I used to sell sporting good products for hunting in Walmart in North Carolina. I used to be so terrified. That's honest. I'm even terrified to fish. It's very honest. Very, very honest. Same thing with SARS, which is, in a nutshell, it's a upper respiratory infection, which is similar, which basically is the kind of the short viral name for COVID-19. It is an upper respiratory infection. So I'm going to ask you guys this one question, and that's another controversial topic, and I'll try to wrap it up in a few other slides. How many of you guys think COVID-19 probably entered the United States before we claimed it as a pandemic? I do. I think it's been the United States probably maybe as early as October of last year. So how many, y'all let me know in the chat. How many of you think that COVID-19 got here way before March? Like I said, I really think it got here way before March. So, and the reason why I said that, because there's so many people that they're reporting pressure on their chest, serious congestion, headaches, and extremely sore throat, fever. Me personally, I also think it might be the Kentucky crud. So that's what I was told, that's a thing, that there's the Kentucky crud. I think it just got here. I think it got here as early as October. I think it was here right around it was in the United States, maybe around Mardi Gras. I think no, not Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras was impacted by Mardi Gras, but I think around maybe, I would say maybe after fall break. I think that's where it kind of got into the States a little bit. So, but the thing is this, people were getting tested for flu and strep throat, and they were like, I don't know what this is. So what they're doing is they're just diagnosing it with an upper respiratory infection. Okay. So, and those are the worst. I've had that one before. And like I said, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I promise I'm not that person, but I think it's been here for a little while. I think it's been here, and we ain't know. So, so you can't eradicate a disease. Let's hope, fingers crossed, that we can eradicate COVID-19. I know that there are researchers that have been working tirelessly to try to do that because, and mostly the reason why is that this vaccine, with shutting down everything, it's impacting businesses. It's impacting a lot of jobs. I have a handful of friends that have lost their jobs as a result of COVID-19. So, the real goal is to be able to really get rid of this. But additionally, I think what they're trying to do is that they're really trying to educate the population on the importance of staying safe, taking precautions by washing your hands. The one thing that I've always advocated ever since I started teaching in higher ed in 2011 is I tell my students, if you are not feeling well whatsoever, go home. Do not come in the classroom. Do not go into the gym. Don't try to have a conference with me to tell me that you're not feeling good. I'd rather you email me and say, I'm not feeling good. Now, it's not my business to determine whether your feel good is from being hungover or really being sick. That's not my call. That's more so your call. But you really should know your body. And that's the reason why it's so important for us to really learn from this pandemic, to really know, okay, I really don't feel good. I might have a little cough. My nose is a little stopped up. I have chills. I just don't feel good. Okay. So that's the reason why, throughout my courses, if you have more than one course with me, you'll see there's a break in there, because I really want you guys to take a break, because this online learning format can drain you, which opens you up for illnesses. So, but eradication, of course, is the most effective and the easiest method. But I also want to put in there mindfulness, because it's so important for you to be mindful when your body is not 100%. In fact, I'll tell you guys, I probably didn't start working. Moment of transparency. I probably didn't officially start work until maybe about, give or take, maybe 9 o'clock, because again, that's my own self-care to make sure that I'm feeling well. Okay. So that's kind of that with eradication. We just finished talking about fear of vaccines. Okay. I encourage you guys, I mean, seriously, not even just because of the class, for real. I encourage you guys to really, really do your research on every and any vaccine. I had a tetanus shot back in July, and the reason why I received the tetanus shot is because I'm, in the fitness center a lot, and you could come across old equipment that might be rusty, might be old, and I do a lot of stuff, so I might step on something that might hurt me, that type of ordeal. So I got the tetanus shot in the protection of myself just for getting hurt. But those are just things to be mindful of. Now, you guys can let me know in the chat. Have you ever had chickenpox? Anybody ever had chickenpox? Ever had chickenpox? I have never had chickenpox. I've never had chickenpox. My brother's never had chickenpox. My mom have never had chickenpox. So you tell me, have you ever had chickenpox? And this is important because with me going to college at the time, Kaylee, yep. Okay, yeah, I've never, and in fact, when I went to the doctor, they was like, "You never had chickenpox?" Yeah, I never had chickenpox. So, and this is good. I'm not alone. Not alone. I'm not the only one that's never had chickenpox. But as a result, I had to be vaccinated because I was living in the dorm at the time in 2002. Everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, I've had chickenpox before." And the first thing they tell you in terms of getting chickenpox is that they're going to tell you, "Oh, if your child has chickenpox, put them around as many kids as possible, just to build immunity to chickenpox." So, yeah, we could talk about herd community and it's much later. But there's going to be that fear of vaccines. My parents who are in their, like I said, they're in their 50s. They have a fear of vaccines because they did come from the end part of the kind of the Tuskegee experiment. So they came on that back end, of course, being born in the 60s. My grandmother, definitely, it's not happening. She was definitely of age of a lot of people who participated in that. So there is that fear of vaccine of, oh my gosh, I'm a lab rat, I am not doing it. There's some who do fear vaccines as far as parents are concerned because of potential risk as far as growth and development. Like I said, I'm not even joking, for real. I just want y'all to Google ingredients and vaccines, and then I want you to kind of make your own decision and determine what might be best for you. Okay, so there is a discussion in there, like I said. Make sure that you go in that discussion, and I really want you to interact with each other in that discussion. Next week, next week I will be back live at 2 p.m. And we'll talk about chapter 10 as far as continuation of communicable diseases and the spread of diseases. And yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you have any questions about your project, your culminating project throughout the semester, let me know. This is week 5. As I said, it's either at the end of week 6 or at the end of week 7, one of the two. I have to look at the syllabus. You do have a break coming up, okay? Make sure you take advantage of, not even joking. I'm going to be mad if you guys are doing work during the break that I've incorporated for you. Not because I'm just this evil person, but I really want y'all to find some time to relax. Not playing. Because, this whole online environment is unique, okay? And it's important for you to finish strong. And so if you need a break, take a break. If you want to use that break to catch up, by all means, do what you need to. But find time for yourself during those breaks, okay? If you got any questions for me, send me a message. I will see you guys throughout the week. Peace.